right? By the way, 6th Street, East 6th Street, historic 6th Street, or how the locals call it, 36. Yes, after dark, hide your kids, hide your wives, and hide your husbands. It's not for the faint of heart. A couple of things that we see over here, tattoo parlors. I don't know if you know this, but Austin has one of the highest per capita tattoo parlor number of any city. So perhaps if you're looking to add to your collection or get your first tattoo that you always wanted, perhaps Austin is the city for you. Also, if you come over here late at night and do too much of this, and in the morning you wake up with a half-back tattoo of Donald Duck and you don't know what to do with it, I got you covered because Austin has an equally high amount number of tattoo removal services. Just in case. As we move through the street, this is Trinity? Niches. Yes. Okay. I want you to look to either side. It doesn't matter which side you look at. I want you to look at the sidewalks. Use your imagination and make them disappear. That's how wide the streets used to be back in the day. What happened? Austin was in the middle of a cattle trail, and they used to have cattle drive up and down the streets. So that's why the streets were wide, to allow all the cattle to come in. Let's look about this building. Look at this, the one with the blue jay right on top of that black turf. Look at that, it's like he was waiting for a show off. 431, Bates Tulip Pianos, out of there in 1870. An Italian immigrant, Marco Paggi, out of there he made coffins, caskets, horse buggies, but his claim to fame is that he brought the very first ice making machine to Austin, Texas, making about 5,000 pounds of ice every single day without down Barker Creeks. On the other side, on my starboard side, we got Cheers, like in Boston, where everybody knows your name. Yeah, you know what you should not do if everybody knows your name. Underage drinking. This is where Jenna Bush got caught. Nothing happened to her because she was the daughter of the president. If it would have been me, I would have been straight to jail. They would have seen me, no question, bam, you go to jail, homie. Right here, the Museum of the Weird. This is the one place that I would say, bring your kid. The name says it all. It's full of weird, wacky stuff. But the coolest thing about it, that apartment at the very top, a long time ago, while they were shooting the movie What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Leonardo DiCaprio and Johnny Depp lived over there. Yes. Were you guys watching the trial? Don't lie, you were watching the trial. Yeah. I'm so glad that's over. So we can actually focus on important things. Right over here in the corner, Poor Choices. Where we left, that was the visitor center. Way before that, it was actually located here about 10 years ago. Before that, it was a bar called Steamboat. Out of here, this is where Stevie Ray Vaughan used to play. When he came to Austin from Dallas. Late 80s, or early 80s, I'm sorry. But way before that, about 100 years before, that used to be the old cotton exchange. You would bring your cotton, wait and get some money, bring some money, and get some cotton. It is now a bar. Poor Choices, P-O-U-R, not P-O-O-R. Not, yeah. What street is this? This is Trinity, named after the Trinity River. And we got the Chupacabra. Chupacabra, do you guys know what the Chupacabra is? Do you know where the Chupacabra is from? Where? No! The Chupacabra is from Puerto Rico. You guys stole it. Give me back my monster. I want my monster back. Yes, it's from the Chupacabra from Puerto Rico. Apparently, after he toured South America, the Chupacabra retired and he opened up a bar over here. That's what's going on. Again, look at either side. It doesn't matter. Look, you can actually feel it right now. It gets a little bumpy, right? That brick lane, the entire street was actually covered. Again, think about cattle drives. You don't want a street made out of dirt or clay and then a bunch of cows running over it every other day. It would absolutely trash it. That's why. A couple of venues over here, both Maggie Mays and the Blind Pig. I spoke about Stevie Ray Vaughan playing, right? First of all, these buildings are protected by city ordinances. You cannot change them. This is how they used to look like back in the 1800s. You can add to them, but you cannot change them. Janis Joplin, as well as Stevie Ray Vaughan, they used to play both over here at the Maggie Mays and the Blind Pig. So very, very relevant buildings over here. As we move forward, I want everybody to focus catty corner over here. This is the San Jack Saloon, named after the San Jacinto Street, which in turn named after the San Jacinto River. Again, following with the whole thing. The San Jack Saloon is the only country western bar in this part of downtown. It belongs to Jared Padalecki. Do you know who Jared Padalecki is? Sam Winchester, yes. Yes. He was in the show Supernatural for about 15 seasons. Yes. Before that, he was on Gilmore Girls, and he is now the new Walker, Texas Ranger. Just when when everybody thought that nobody would be able to fill in Chuck Norris's shoes, he shows up. He's doing a pretty good job at it. That's his bar. His co-star Jensen Ackles, he's actually on a series on Amazon. It's called The Boys. About superheroes, not for kids. Do not let your kids see that. Right here, bright pink. You cannot miss it. Voodoo Donuts from Portland, Oregon. Do you notice any difference between this Portland and the one over here? The 4-hour line. Yeah, over here nobody likes them, so you can just go in, get yourself a donut, be out on your way, and do something else, like looking at the Marley Building. Quacking away over here. 3, 2, 1. Get him! What's up? That's that kid. Wrap them tickets. Write them tickets. This building, originally 2-stories tall. Alright, the third story, and I want you to look at it right now. I want you to look at that facade. It's made out of copper. The same material the Statue of Liberty was made out of. Alright? You see how it looks? I want everybody to look at it. Because I want you to take a mental picture. There's another thing made out of copper in downtown that we're gonna look at. That we're gonna look and talk about. Alright? The third story was added for the sole purpose of accommodating that facade. It came from Italy to New York on a boat, and from New York to Texas on a train. It's been there more than 120 years. 1874, the first pharmacy in Austin. Isn't it gorgeous? Well, you already saw what happens to copper. What happens? You see how it ages? Keep that in mind, because we're gonna talk about something else. Where are we at? How are we getting traffic on a Monday morning, Freddie? What's going on over here? We're crossing Brazos Street, named after the Brazos River. By the way, Brazos in Spanish means arms. I do not know exactly why they named the river like that. I gotta get on the Google and figure that out. But let's talk about this hotel over here. Oh, fucking a wave. 3, 2, 1. Get him! What's up? 1886, the Driscoll Hotel, built by Colonel Jesse Driscoll. He was both a Confederate officer and a cattle baron. He built this hotel for about $400,000. That's about $10 million in today's money. They just sold it. Somebody bought it. Take a guess. How much? Yell out. Up. Up. Up, but not too much. It's $100 million. Yes, $100 million. By the way, it is not cheap. So whoever bought it, they're gonna make their money really fast, because they start those rooms at about $400 a night. Wow. It is said to be hunted by Colonel Jesse Driscoll himself, but he only makes himself visible to the ladies. He was a little bit of a rascal. Also, LBJ and Lady Bird Johnson had their first date right here at the Driscoll. Yeah, I know. This building over here, back in 1910, was the first bank in the tallest building in Austin. This is the Littlefield building. I don't know if you've ever been to the UT campus. There is a Littlefield fountain named after the same man. He was rich and he donated a bunch of money to the university. That's why they have a fountain named after him. Mr. Littlefield, again, tallest building back in the day, 7 stories. He had a nemesis. God, oh my God, that was always giving him a hard time. Mr. Scarborough. Mr. Scarborough has had this building catty corner on the other side. He wanted to do a one-up on Mr. Littlefield. So if Mr. Littlefield has 7 stories, how tall do you think Mr. Scarborough built this building? The minimum amount of effort required to one-up him. What did Mr. Littlefield do? Not to be outdone, he added 1.5. Literally, the last story was about 5.5 feet tall, so it was only used for illegal sessions of poker and gambling. LBJ used to partake of those sessions. He made no secrets about it. Everybody knew about it. We're turning into Congress Avenue. By the way, Congress Avenue is the one street in downtown that is not named after a river. This is the exception to the rule, all right? Let's talk about this lady over here. She seems very mad, very livid. She's, whatever it is, she's not having it. Why is she so mad? That is Angelina Everly. She is the hero of the first Archive War. What happened? Sam Houston was always looking for an excuse to transfer the capital back to Houston. I guess an ego thing, right? So he actually said under the excuse, he used to say that he was worried that the Mexican army would come over here and take Austin, even though Houston's way closer to Mexico than Austin is. Anyways, in the middle of the night, he actually sent 30 people, 30 rangers with a bunch of horse buggies to get all the archives transferred back to Houston to make Houston the capital, what happened? She saw what was going on. She knew the implications. So she came out of the guest house that she ran. That's what she's wearing right now is basically PJs back in the 1800s. What would she do against 30 armed men? She used her brain. She fired that cannonball, not with the intention of hitting anybody, but with the intention of waking up the entire town. And that's exactly what happened. Everybody came out, they saw what was happening. They actually managed to get away with the horse buggies, but then they actually caught up to them 30 miles outside later, and we've been the capital ever since. We did have somebody from Houston, yes? All right, because you guys, Houston gets Austin in the end with a very good practical joke of skyscraping proportions, how they're saying. Right here, opened up in 1915 as the Majestic. It was an opera house / concert hall. In 1930, it got repurposed as a movie theater, and it's been a movie theater ever since. I don't know what they got going on right now. John Ellis, who's that? Hey, do you know who John Ellis is? No, okay, we don't know who John Ellis is, but anyways, a very relevant building. They just used it for the South by Southwest Film Festival. I was actually giving a tour on this same vehicle, and I got to see the oldest teenager living in record. Tony Hawk was having the red carpet premiere for the documentary about his life until the wheels fall off for the South by Southwest Film Festival. That's actually pretty cool that I got to see it like that. Also, other couple important premieres have happened there. The premiere for the very first Batman movie happened over there in 1969. Adam West, who many consider to be the best Batman, and also best in horror house in Texas. Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds, may he rest in peace. That also happened over there. And on a personal note, I got to see Bottles the Clown in concert over there. If you don't know who he is, go check him out on YouTube. It's pretty cool. Okay, we're still, by the way, that smell, that's somebody ran over a skunk. Pay no mind, it happens over here downtown all the time. What is going on over here? Does anybody know what this building is at the very far end? I know we're still very far away from it. Young men, do you know what that building is? Okay. That is the capital of Texas. Did you know that that capital is the biggest capital in the United States? No? Do you know why though? Can you say that again, sister? Yes. Everything is bigger in Texas. By the way, it is not the first one. That is the second one. And I will direct you to see the first one right there. Well, or the foundations of the first one. That's where it used to be. The first one, a lot smaller, made out of limestone. Made out of limestone. Limestone is everywhere. Ooh. Let's give a coming away to this group of three over there. They look like trouble. 3, 2, 1. Get them! Yes. So, limestone is everywhere in hill country. Absolutely everywhere. Also, the same thing that happens to copper happens to limestone. So I guess they said, this one is not big enough, and I don't like the way limestone looks, so they chose a new place and a new building material. There it is. The brand new, well, not brand new, back in the day, capital of Texas. This one's made out of pink granite. There is no pink granite here in this part of hill country. However, there is a town north called Marble Falls. Marble Falls is about 60 miles north. They got plenty of it. So what did they do? In 1860, in the 1800s, actually this one, I didn't say this, but it was actually built in record time, 1882 to 1888, 6 years. They had a railroad going all the way from Marble Falls to the entrance of the Capitol to carry the granite back and forth. All right, so that's another one. And as we turn into this intersection, we're gonna take a turn to port. I want everybody to look over to the starboard side and up to the dome of the Capitol. I want you to look at that. I want you to look at that statue. She is the Goddess of Liberty. She is the second one. I want you to do a little bit of recalling over here. Remember what the facade of the Marley building used to look like? The copper one? The first one was made out of copper, just like the Marley building facade. This one, an exact copy of it. This one's made out of aluminum, or aluminum, however you want to call it. 16 feet tall, making this Capitol 14 feet taller than the U.S. Capitol. All right, so that's another one. Let's look at the flags over here. And right underneath, you see the 6 circular seals. Ever heard about 6 flags? Everybody knows about Six Flags. But do you know what Six Flags actually means? All flags, all territories that have flown their flag over Texas over time. Let's play the guessing game. At the very left, it has the seal of León and Castilla. What European power am I talking about? Spain. Right next to it, it has the fleur-de-lis. What European power am I talking about? France. Right next to it is when Texas was part of an empire. Mexico, remember, Mexico used to be Texas, California, Nevada, New Mexico, parts of Oklahoma. It was pretty big. So what happened when Texas broke off from the Mexican Empire? It became its own what? The Republic of Texas. What happened during the Civil War? Confederacy and lastly the United States. By the way, the top structure, the Capitol, $4 million back in the 1800s. What you do not see that made this Capitol bigger than any other Capitol is the 4-story basement. $75 million. $75 million back in the 1800s. $4 million. That statue over there, the Emancipation Monument, absolutely gorgeous. Go check it out. It's there to commemorate every contribution that African Americans have made to this territory of Texas over the years. Come check it out. It takes about 10 minutes to see the whole thing. It's absolutely gorgeous. This lawn over here, 2.2 acres, a little bit smaller than Washington, D.C. But unlike Washington, D.C., this one is open to the public. There's a library and a visitor center at the very end. By the way, very popular spot for people to come in and take their pictures for their weddings, graduations, quinceañeras, and all that stuff.